Hey, ladies, and welcome to this call today on optimizing recovery and sleep for hormonal balance and ultimately body transformation. So, I think this is a really important topic to kind of marry up and put together because I know from conversations of recent, many of you have been struggling with things like sleep, seeing shifts on the scales that just don't make sense, especially if you have been adhering to all the basics. So, if you have been nailing your steps, nailing your nutrition, nailing your workouts, doing everything exactly how you should do. This is almost the often overlooked but massively important piece of the puzzle. And again, same goes if there are things that you were just things aren't coordinated and you pick up some weeks you're good at this and some weeks that. So again, this is just sort of tying it all together and yeah, just thinking about everything as the bigger picture as well and how important this is. So it's really important to ensure that you are empowering your body to thrive. So that's always the top end of the pyramid, if you like. Because when we're thinking about, you know, working through a deficit and then you think, right, I'm just going to eat less. Well, it's even more important to think about filling your cup before you start trying to go and hammer everything. And so this is why you know, that recovery and that sleep is so important. So we'll be talking about sort of an overview of like lifestyle nutrition and recovery for fat loss, toning and muscle building. And obviously exploring how recovery, sleep, lifestyle and nutrition affects our hormones. So recovery and sleep. This is really important when it comes to regulating hormones, and we'll come into that in a bit more detail in a moment. And then when we're thinking about the lifestyle adjustments, we're thinking about things like caffeine, screen time, work boundaries. I think there needs to be conversations had about that with many of you as well. I'll speak to you and you're telling me that you're on your laptop, you're finishing off last bits, bits at night, late at night, and yeah, it's just not good. You want to operate, you want to thrive, and you want to operate like well, right? So, I think it's really important to think about those boundaries. Yeah, and then obviously when we're thinking about nutrition strategies, it's the macros, yeah, the portion control, fiber is a big one that we've been talking about a lot recently, and water, and then ultimately increasing your NEAT and your movement. So when we're thinking about recovery and sleep, it's the importance, so the foundation for repair. When you're sleeping, this is when your body is doing all the magic. So when you're training, you're sort of, breaking down muscle fibers, and then you are building and repairing overnight. And a lot of the really key processes happen in various different parts or different stages of sleep that are massively important in terms of how we operate the next day. And again, this comes down to hormonal regulation. So we're thinking about cortisol levels, other ones that are related to hunger and satiety. So ghrelin and leptin. So if you're confused with those and you've never heard of them before, ghrelin is like, it sounds like gremlin. So it's the one that makes you feel hungry. You literally turn into a gremlin when you're hungry. So that's what ghrelin is about, right? So when that is super, super high and rampant. And then leptin is the other one, yeah, which is the one that helps you feel more full and satiated. And so if you've had really shit sleep, these two are going to be massively impacted. And then obviously that's going to determine the food choices or how you feel the next day, how hangry or whatever. And when we are thinking about that body repair, it's the muscle repair and the growth that is occurring at night. So, better sleep balances hormones for your improved body composition. So, that's the key takeaway there. And when we're thinking about the lifestyle adjustments, so caffeine and coffee cut off, I think it's really important to do this. I love coffee, but ultimately, we all need to avoid caffeine later in the day for better quality sleep because the caffeine can interfere with your sleep cycles. Again, this is going to have a knock-on effect on the recovery and the hormonal regulation, but it can have an effect on your sleep light cycles, especially because caffeine has a half-life, which means that half of it stays in your system like hours later. So it's really important that we have that caffeine cutoff. So if you're rubbish with stopping coffee, and you love having one in the evening, I would probably say 3 p.m. might be the absolute final time that you have it. I think that's way too late. And I would probably say that 12, midday is probably better, especially if you're someone that has to be up early anyway. Have your caffeine fixes earlier on in the day and then just have a cut later on and then opt for things like, your herbal teas, etc. Screen time and blue light. So our smartphones and laptops, they emit blue light, which again is going to disrupt your melatonin production. And this is the sleep hormone. So it's really important that you set boundaries for screen time, especially before bed, because this is going to help you transition into a more restful state. And I know that for some of you, you think, well, this is the only time of the day that I get to have a Netflix binge, or it's the only time of the day that I just kind of open up social media and have a catch up and see what people have been doing and have a scroll. We all know what happens with a scroll, not all the time, but I'm pretty sure for some of you it might just suddenly you just end down the rabbit hole and you've seen this video and then you've seen that one and you're in this escape, this tunnel basically of where you're just in the whole zone of just scrolling. So just don't do it. Admittedly, I've been there. I have to use social media for work and it's difficult. But I think what's quite nice with some of the phones, they give you limits. They can, you can set a limit on your screen time on your phone, and you can also analyze how long you've been on your phone for. So the Apple phone, I know that with mine, like you'll go to have a look at your screen time, and it will show you how much you've had over the course of the week, but then also specific different apps. So it will show you them specifically for each app. So you'll be able to see how long you've been on Instagram for. And then if it looks like a long time, genuinely ask yourself, have you been gathering information or checking up on friends during that time, or have you been in a doom scroll? So just really important note there. Work boundaries is a massive one because, again, through conversation that I've had with you girls of recent, some of you are telling me that, with kids, you've put the kids to sleep and your laptop is open again and you're there, and that's preventing you from going to bed at a decent hour. And again, I presume that you've had your laptop on and it's, you turn it off and then you're like diving into bed and it's like, okay, I've got to get to sleep. But you've not allowed yourself to have some time away from, all the blue light, and, your brain sort of wired and really in this work mode. And, have you had a chance to like wind down and get away from work? I know that some of you work on projects that might mean that you're spending a long time, but just be mindful of what time you intend on going to bed, what time you intend to having or starting your bedtime routine, and then also what time you intend to turn your laptop off and just get away from it. Um, I have been working on this myself, my own boundaries. I don't think anyone's noticed. I don't think there's any difference, but I know that maybe a year ago, I would have my laptop on till really late at night, and it was disrupting me. It was disrupting my sleep. And again, as I say, everything I do is on phones and screens and stuff, like many of you girls as well. So I think it's just really important that you stick to those boundaries and you allow yourself space. If I was just constantly stressing myself out and having disrupted sleep and not going to bed in time and not caring about my own personal health, that wouldn't be a good representation of what I want for you ladies and the program as well, and what this is all about. Yeah, and work. Look, I know work's massively important. It's the breadline. It's what we've got to do to survive. But it's really important that you stop it spilling into your personal time. And again, it can be a massive reason why some of you are stressed, why you're not having decent sleep and recovery. And I'm sure if you were to take this to, someone at work and, somewhere in a higher position at work, they might actually tell you that it's harmful and you need to stop doing that. And, just it's just really important to create that mental and, you know, that mental break and that physical break from having, the work and just stop. And again, with the whole bedtime routine, it's a way of allowing your body you're telling you it's time to wind down. So, yeah, overall impact. So, we want to create an environment where your body can naturally thrive. And when we're thinking about all these different points that I've just talked about, all these factors, so from caffeine to screen time to work-life balance, they are playing on our hormonal responses. And it's so important that we make these really small changes because we want to create that environment that we allow our bodies can thrive naturally. Okay, so when we're thinking about nutrition, so we want to focus on nourishment rather than drastic calorie cutting. So I see this quite often when I give you a target to hit, and whether it's you're buying back calories because of how something's occurred on a non-track day or you're calorie banking for the future. Quite often, I see sort of a lot of under eating. So again, massively dropping calories. The idea is that we want to have balance. It's important that we a cup is full and we're thriving with the right balance, because we ultimately we want to support that recovery and that muscle building. And this is where the macros are really important. So yes, protein essential for muscle repair and growth. But it's also got a thermic effect, meaning that it requires more energy to digest, which can aid in fat loss. So when we're also thinking about protein, it has an effect on our satiety levels as well, on our fullness. Protein calories, we're looking at per 1 gram of protein, 4 calories. And exactly the same can be said for carbohydrates. So per 1 gram of carbohydrates, you have 4 calories. Carbohydrates are different, right? So obviously we know that carbs are important. They're going to help us fuel our workouts, replenish our glycogen, and again help with water retention in some ways. So this is the thing, right? It's almost like a double-edged thing with the carb situation. So as well as protein is obviously more thermic, carbohydrates maybe not so much. Again, it's it's unfairly villainized because yes, they cause the water retention, but this is actually a natural part of the muscle building process. The whole point of, water, when you're having a carb, per every one carb, you add three to 4 grams of water. The whole point of that is that it pulls in the water towards your muscle tissues. That's going to help you provide that fuel. And it's just important to kind of think carbs are not evil nor are they bad. That's not the issue. I think when we're thinking about media terms and stuff, when we think about carbs, we always think carbs means like bread and cakes and stuff like that. But a lot of the time, there's nothing wrong with bread. I love bread. Nothing wrong with it. If you're eating a whole loaf at a time, there's obviously there's questions that need to be asked. Shouldn't be doing that. But it's again, when we're thinking about carbs, there are carbs that are more processed, which again will have maybe a higher salt content and may have more additional, they may have been cooked with additional fats. They may have a higher fat content as well, higher in calories. Again, all depends. Okay, so obviously, yes, we want to try and go for whole foods where possible, and the fats are essential for our hormonal production. Again, with fats, yes, they are higher in calories, but you want to be looking at having your fats from healthier food options. I'm not trying to say cut them out completely, but I know again, when it comes to cooking, I've done it in the past. It's so easy to kind of drizzle olive oil, drizzle it on your salad. Oh, I'm eating a salad, it's healthy. I'll drizzle the olive oil, or I'll deep fry whatever, or maybe not even deep fry, but I'll shallow fry something, and you've no idea how much fats you're actually cooking with. So per 1 gram of fat, you're looking at per 1 gram of fat, you're looking at the 9 calories. But yes, it's critical for hormone production. So everything is not just about calories only. Calories is the easiest kind of thing to tick off. The next thing would be, yes, looking at the protein. And the thing after that would be understanding and satisfying sort of the fat content, the percentage of fats that we need to have towards your total calories, and the rest of the calories go towards your carbs. Again, we can kind of talk about that sort of stuff in more detail as we go into other calls, and maybe even more so as we discuss together individually. So, fiber. Don't forget your fiber nor your water. We had a question in one of the check-ins where some of you had ticked off water as being like 1.5 liters a day. It's not enough. And if you're working out, you're going to need more water. And if you're working and you need focus, you're going to need more water. So fiber, again, getting it right is a tricky one. And again, when you're focusing on increasing your fiber, you don't want to like massively increase it, because then that's where you're going to start getting bloated. So it's really important that your hydration matches it, and that you're bringing your fiber up gradually. So everything is about just working on those gradual changes. And I thought it would be important to note that, yes, so I do ask for your scale weight, but these are indicators of where we are in space and time. But it is not the only indication of success. It's really important that when we're thinking about body composition, that the ideal scenario is we're losing fat whilst we're building that lean muscle. We're not losing everything. You're not just thinking, right, if I just eat as little as possible and I move as much as I can and I see massive drops in the weight scales, that's all good. It's so important that we are maintaining that lean muscle. So with some of you that have been sick recently, or if you are in a massive deficit, and we are working through that, it's really important that you are maintaining or fulfilling your protein needs. So protein, some of you are not even getting the government recommendations of zero point 0.8 grams per kilogram of protein. And it's really important that really we should be shooting for that 1.6, and that even in itself for resistance training is the lower end. And I know that it's hard and I know that it's difficult, but this is a process. We're not looking for overnight changes. We're looking for things to happen gradually, over time. We're getting better. We're getting 1% better each day with that. Okay, neat and daily movement. So your NEAT is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So when I'm banging on about NEAT, it's all the small movements that we make throughout the day. So from your walking, household chores, going up and down stairs, running off to go to the toilet, walking around when you're taking a phone call, all those things that's going to help boost your NEAT. And increasing that NEAT, again, it's going to help you. It's going to give you more energy expenditure without the need for thinking about sort of, oh my God, I need to have more intense exercise sessions. Give me more, give me more. So just, I know it sounds small, but even if you get up for 5 minutes, it's something. So just get up out of your chair. Again, smartwatches are so good at telling you to stand. So it's really important that you just keep getting up where you can. And if you're drinking more water, you're going to need to go to the toilet more, especially at the beginning. So that's a good point. That's a good way of getting up and having to get up. Yeah, and go for a wee. Okay. So, yeah, practical steps. Stand more, take short walks, even stretching as well, like just getting and doing some stretching. I've got some nice little mobility bits within the workout collections. Some of you might not know that that's there, but it is. It's a way of just adding in tidbits here and there. And again, if you ask me for more resources, I will create more resources, which means that we all have more. So just yeah, just have a nose. And if you think there are some missing bits that you'd like more of, then let me know. Summary: recovery and sleep are essential for your hormonal balance. So when we're thinking about hormones sort of being all over the place and out of sync, I think it's really important that we think about what's really important, that almost that sort of hierarchy of the things that we need to do to thrive. Sleep is the biggest the biggest thing that you need to really maximize as much as possible. We all know what it's like when you have a poor night's sleep and you've woken up lots, you are hungry, you are cold, you don't want to move so much, you are moody. So it's really important that we try and bank and use that. It's our superpower for creating that hormonal balance. So, lifestyle adjustments again, balanced nutrition, we are creating that thriving environment. Once we nail all of those things, we can start getting more picky and nit-gritty with things as well. But yeah, really important to work on increasing that daily movement overall to support our goals. And yeah, just ultimately focus on the sustainable small changes for long-term success. And it's really important that we embrace the journey and enjoy transforming our body composition as well. So yes, seeing shifts is great on the scales, but it's really important that we are understanding how we feel in our clothes. We are taking our body tape measurements as well. We're taking those pictures weekly. Some of you girls have had pictures sent back to you for small little things that again, your eyes can't see. That's my job, is to remind you and to show you where things are changing and where they are happening. But you've just got to keep driving forward. And I'm excited for March as well. So new month, new beginning from next week. So yeah, hope that was helpful. And any questions you have, drop them into the group chat or send me a direct message.